Welcome back. This is Di North with Camp WTF. We're back out at the lean-to. This is part 2 of our lean-to series. I've done a little bit around here since I videoed last. We'll go over all of the things that I've done and what I'm going to do next. One thing I've done is I've added these cross members that are going to get lashed to do a tripod on each end. I decided to go ahead with tripods on both ends just out of convenience. Building a flat log wall on this side was my original intention, but then I decided no, I want the 2 tripods. I want more room for more gear. So I'm going to go with tripod ends. Plus, because we get such a heavy snow load here in Wisconsin, up in northern Wisconsin, we're just a mile and a half away from Lake Superior, and we get hit with a lot of heavy snows. This year, obviously, we have not. It's December 9th, and we haven't got any snow. But it's coming, I guarantee it. So what I did was, because of the snow load I might have to deal with my shelter, I did an upright support in the center of my lean-to. All I did was I took a good, sturdy dead log, and I notched the top so that this ridge pole would ride in that notch, and it would bear so much more weight. So now I don't have to worry. It can snow load up. This is never coming down from a snow load. So that just added to the safety of it. And what I did was I just kind of cleaned up around the front of my lean-to so I could do some more work out front. I hauled in some boughs. I don't know if you can see them in the camera or not, but off to the side I've got a big pile of pine boughs that I'll be using to cover the shelter with. I've loaded up the back, and I'll move the camera and we'll show you the back and how I loaded that up so that it's ready to get the boughs put on it. Somebody had asked me, how do you clean up your camp area? All the forest debris, all the leaves, everything around. Now, I've done it, I mean, as rudimentary as finding a nice pole, a stick, and just scraping the ground with it. Scrape all that stuff away from your camp area. And then I had a friend showed me how to make a bushcraft rake. I don't have one with me right now, but in the future, I'll do a video on how you can make a rake for your camp area, bushcraft style. It's not that difficult, and it's kind of a fun project. So we'll do a bushcraft rake video someday. But for lack of having my bushcraft rake, one thing I do have is I've got this collapsible rake. It only weighs maybe a half a pound. It's got a nice rake head on it. It's steel. It's telescopic. And it works great in the camp for cleaning up. Now, you can use this around your fire pit because it's all steel. You can use it around the fire pit. You can use it for gathering up, raking up forest debris to put on your shelters. It's lightweight enough and it's got a nice ring on it. You can put a piece of cordage on there or just hang it from the back of your pack. Or I strap it in this way on my pack, across the back when I'm hiking through the woods. And you don't even notice it's there. But I keep one of these in base camp because they are very handy. But that's how we clean up around our camp. Now, one of the considerations I want to point out, when you're building a I would say semi-permanent, longer-term shelter like this lean-to, and you're going to be established for a while here, you're going to be having a fire out front. Now, where I'm at, it would take me probably 3 days of hunting and hauling to find enough rock to build a rock fire pit. I'm not doing that. I'm going to be burning right on the ground. However, one thing I did, and that's where cleaning up the ground is important. I cleaned everything back and I looked real close because I have spruce trees all around me. Spruce and birch, those are the two that I'm most concerned about. Fatwood concentrates at the bottom of pine trees, especially spruce. Right at the heart root, the stump has a lot of concentrated sap, very flammable. The roots also burn very well. You get a hot fire going here and you have it there for days. You can, believe it or not, get the roots and the organic matter. You can dry that ground out enough to get the roots and organic matter to actually ignite. It'll start to smolder. It'll smolder and it'll travel and follow those roots. And it can pop up anywhere as a fire. Now in the winter, it's not so much a concern. But when you're summer camping in a semi-permanent site, you have to keep in mind what's in the ground where you're going to have your fire pit. Use caution. Don't start a fire 30 feet away because you didn't check the ground and realize that it's full of spruce roots that can ignite and smolder and travel. And I have seen that actually happen in the Northwest, where a fire has started or a fire had been made on the ground and it had started the roots smoldering, and it traveled the roots and started fires adjacent to where that campfire was. So that's one thing to keep in mind. One thing I'm going to be doing today also, I don't know if we'll get time on the video for today's video. I might have to do a part 3 today. But I'm going to get my bed started, and what I'm going to do is I've got the 2 logs out here. I marked them off as to how wide I need my bed, how wide's my bedroll, and I'll get my body in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to scribe some marks on here with a saw. And I'm only going to go down 2 to 3 inches into these logs. And then I'm just going to use my machete, but a hatchet or an axe would work great. And you just chisel that out and flatten it out. And you leave the 2 ends a little higher. That way when you put your cross logs in here, they won't roll off. You don't want to be rolling out of bed because your logs rolled off of these 2 bottom logs. So I'm going to be working on that today also. But I'm going to go off video right now, and then I'm going to move the camera. We're going to talk about how I loaded up the back of the shelter. Okay, folks, here we are. We're at the back of the lean-to. Now, just to explain what we have going on here is I got my ridge pole up here. My tarp was put on. I've got 5 vertical logs, tarps over those. Then what I did was I laid pieces that were maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches at the most around, the same length as the distance from the ground to the ridge pole, and I laid those in there vertically. Then I came back and cross-hatched it with smaller branches. You can see the cross-hatching. It's so that it's almost a weave going on. It's like a heavy stick weave. Now what I'll be doing is I'll be hanging my pine boughs on here. After the pine boughs are on, then I'll be using heavy 2.5, 3-inch round logs, and I'll be propping those and leaning those over my pine boughs. That keeps them in place. They'll stay put. They're not going anywhere. Now, I'm not so concerned. If I was doing a strictly debris shelter, this would be much tighter mesh in here, because I would be covering this with forest debris, the leaves off the ground and the small sticks and debris off the ground. That would be layered on here first. Then I would come and I would put multiple layers of pine boughs over that. That would give me insulation. It would also give me some waterproofing. So the thicker the ground debris on here, the better. A lot of ground debris and then some pine boughs. And the pine boughs should be placed on here vertically. I'll show you one. grab a good one. This one will work. Now I've seen people take these pine boughs. They grow on the tree this way. We've all seen that. Okay? Now they work just as well upside down. So turn them upside down. You lay them down so that they're hanging in a downward direction. So that the needles are hanging in a downward direction. Now I've seen people say, well, it doesn't matter, and they throw them on sideways. Well, to a degree it doesn't matter. You could throw them on sideways to start out. But for your final coat, to get water shedding for rain, you definitely want these needles and branches facing downhill. You want this to shed water, okay? So that's just one thing to keep in mind. But I'm at the stage where I'll start putting boughs on this, and then putting I'll probably put 6 to 8 logs to hold the boughs down. So with that, we're going to wrap this part up, and I'm going to jump right into part 3 of the video after I get some of this done. So thanks for stopping by, and make sure to look at part 3. If you haven't seen part 1, go to part 1. Watch them all. It's a series. Follow our series. Please subscribe. Hit the like button. Share our videos with your friends. Hit that share button too. But please subscribe. Help support us by subscribing. And check out our webpage at wilderness-thriving.com. I think you'll be impressed. So this is Stein North. Jim and Rory say hello, folks, and we're going to move on, and then we'll do part 3. Thanks for stopping by. You all have a nice day.